Well, hey everybody, Mr. Reeves back with you, and we're going to be looking at a few skills in IXL, specifically in 8th grade math, skills W, starting at W10, and a couple more W's on solving equations. And we're going to start with solving equations with like terms. All right, so we talked about this a little bit already if you watched my previous video. All right. When you have an equation with an expression, which is every equation, because every algebraic equation anyway has an algebraic expression, sometimes you're going to want to simplify before you solve, and that is the case when you have like terms. So I have 11h being subtracted from 18h, so I'm going to combine these like terms. Well, 18 take away 11, last time I checked, that's going to be 7h. 7h is equal to 14. Now I've got my simple one-step equation, and I get h is equal to 2. All right, which of course is the correct answer. All right, let me skip up to the next problem. All right, now it's getting a little bit more complicated. Take a look at what we've got here. V plus negative 7v minus 2v minus a negative 18v. I want to combine my like terms. Now let's be very careful on these signs here. All right, remember adding a negative is the same as subtracting a positive, and subtracting a negative is the same as adding a positive. So I'm going to go ahead and make this plus. There we go. Subtracting a negative, adding a positive. So if I put my positive v terms together, I've got a positive 1v here with a positive 18v here. So I get positive 19v. And then that's a negative 7 plus a negative 2, or minus 9v, is equal to a negative 20. All right, well, what's 19 minus 9? Well, that is a very convenient 10. And why is it convenient? Because 10 goes into negative 20 exactly negative 2 times. All right, so the answer we're looking for that one is negative 2. All right, let's skip up to the next level, if it will let us skip up to the next level. All right, same kind of idea, only much, much easier. It's so funny. It does not go from easiest to hardest now, does it? All right, 2p plus 3p plus 2p. 5 plus 2 is 7. Maybe this one is considered harder because these three were like terms, right? 2 plus 3. But then we have one that wasn't a like term. So instead of getting a one-step equation after combining like terms, we have a two-step equation. But we don't mind two-step equations at all, do we? Because we're going to do the opposite operations in the opposite order. So instead of multiplying by 7 and adding 1, first we're going to subtract 1 from both sides. And then we're going to divide by 7, giving us the wonderful answer of p is equal to 1. Amazing mathematics, isn't it amazing? All right, let's skip all the way up to the end here. Let's see what they have for us in the challenge zone. All right, so here we go. Again, it's not really that much more difficult. We've got numbers that are slightly larger here. 35 plus 13. So these are my positive k terms. So I'm going to go ahead and put those together, and that's going to give me what? 48k. And then I've got a minus 11, minus 9, and minus 26. Well, minus 11, minus 9, that's minus 20. And minus 20, minus 26, that's minus 46k. All right, well, look at that. 48 minus 46. Only 2 k's left over. And when you take 44 and you divide it evenly into two groups, you get two groups of 22. So let's cross our fingers and hope Mr. Reeves didn't make any mistakes in his math. Great job, Mr. Reeves. All right, so that is some examples of solving equations where you have like terms. All right, so the next skill I'm going to look at is actually skill number W13, solving equations, completing the solution. So they're going to ask us to fill in some steps and then give the solution. So in some ways this should be easier because they're telling us what to do. But unfortunately, they're forcing us to do it their way, and their way is different than how Mr. Reeves said to do it. So let me write this problem down here. Now again, if you were paying attention to Mr. Reeves in his previous discussion with you in class, and also in the previous video, he said these words. He said simplify before you solve. Now, if you were paying close attention, you also heard him say you don't have to simplify before you solve. You can immediately start solving if you want to. You can do anything you want to as long as you do it to both sides. Of course, we don't multiply or divide an equation by 0 because that wipes it out or is not allowed. So what did they do? They divided both sides by 3. Now, if you're doing it Mr. Reeves's way, you would distribute and you'd get 3p plus 9 equals 15. All right? And then you subtract 9 and you get 3p is equal to 6. And then you divide by 3 and you get p is equal to 2. So that's the answer you would get doing it Mr. Reeves' way. Now they're telling you go ahead and first just divide both sides by 3. And you get p plus 3. Let's see, what are we going to get here? We're going to get p plus 3 is equal to 5, right? And then we're going to subtract 3 from both sides, and we get p is equal to 2. We get the same answer, don't we? Now, if you're going, well, Mr. Reeves, goodness, their way seems easier than your way. It seems a little faster. You're right. So why would I teach you a different way? Because what if this number had been 14? 3 doesn't go into 14 evenly or 11 equally. So simplifying before solving always works. Their way of dividing by this number in front will work. I mean, it will always work, but many times you're going to get a fraction or a decimal answer. It won't be nice and clean like this one is. All right, let's skip up to the next level, see what they got here. All right, q divided by 5 plus 7 equals 8. So we have our standard two-step equation. We're going to subtract 7 from both sides. I don't think I have to show any work here on this one, right? Q over 5 equals 1. Then I'm going to multiply both sides by 5, and I'm going to get q is equal to 5. All right, let me skip up to the next level. Again, two-step equation. 5a plus 3 equals 18, and then it went to 5a is 15. What did they do? Well, they subtracted 3 from both sides, and then we've got 5a equals 15, and then we're going to divide both sides by 5. 15 divided by 5 is 3. All right, what about the next level? Okay, here we go again. We're going to have to fill in the blank. What did they do to get from here to here? Well, they did 6u minus 4u. And that process is combining like terms, and it says subtract 6u from both sides. No, combine like terms. That's what we did. We combined like terms. And then we have 2u plus 20 equals 4. Subtract 20 from both sides. What do we get? We get negative 16. Divide both sides by 2. What do we get? We get negative 8. I love these problems. I think they're so much fun. I'm hoping you do as well. All right, here we go. 3x minus 18 plus 16. What did we do? We combined like terms, right? That's what we did right there. Okay, then we add 2 to both sides. Be careful, negative 11 plus a positive 2 is going to be negative 9. It's not negative 13. Dividing both of those by 3, what do we get? We get x is negative 3. All right, is it going to let us skip up into the challenge zone? Let me just do that. Took 2 steps. Let's see what they got in the challenge zone. Oh my gosh, look at all these blanks. So much fun. All right, well, look at this. They did distribute this time. So here we go. Negative 4 times w, that's negative 4w. Be careful, a negative times a negative is a positive, and 4 times 15 is 60, if I'm not mistaken. All right, and what did we do here? We applied the distributive property. Okay, now what are we going to do? We've got that negative 4w still there, but we've only got one box here, and there were 2 things up here. Well, 60 minus 10 is 50, right? So what did we do? We combined our like terms again, and then here we had 2 things, right? 50 and, oh, let's see here. We've got a negative 9w and a minus 4w, or a negative 4w, right? Well, the negative 9w is smaller, so we're going to subtract a negative 9w, but remember, we don't usually bother to do that. We add the opposite. So 9w plus negative 4w, that's going to give me 5w. And what did we do? We added 9w to both sides. All right, now we've got 5w plus 50 equals 20. Now we're finally down to those two-step equations, right? Opposite operations in the opposite order. The opposite of multiplying by 5 is going to be dividing by 5. The opposite of adding 50 is going to be subtracting 50. And 20 minus 50 is negative 30, so we subtracted 50 from both sides. And now what do we need to do? Now we need to divide both sides by 5, and negative 30 divided by 5 is, last time I checked, negative 6. Wonderful. Okay, that is skill W number 13. We're going to finish with skill W9. Now, if you're going, wait, you went out of order. Yes, I did. This is the recommended order that I'm asking you to do it in. W10 is what we did first, then W13, now back to W9. Multi-step equations. Okay, so what do we have here? If you take a look, remember we want to do the opposite operations in the opposite order. If I was going forwards, I would start with k, I would subtract 4, and then I would divide by negative 2. Again, I'd start with k, I'd subtract 4, and divide by negative 2. So if I'm working backwards, well, the last thing we did was divide by negative 2. So the first thing I'm going to do is multiply both sides by negative 2. Okay, so I'm going to do negative 2 times this side and negative 2 times that side. That's going to eliminate the denominator there. So I get k minus 4 is equal to 4. All right, now it's simply a one-step equation. I add 4 to both sides. I get k is equal to 8. Right, let's type that in. It looks a little better that way than when I wrote it, didn't it? All right, k is equal to 8. All right, let's skip up to the next level. Here we go. Same idea, actually, very much similar, only now we have decimals. All right, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to open up my handy-dandy calculator. Should have done that before. Right here, do you see we've got m minus 7, 3.9. Let me do this. Let me clear all this out. I'm going to minimize this here for a second. All right, so what do I need to do to both sides? I need to multiply by negative 2. Anytime you want to eliminate a denominator, you can multiply it, right? So going forwards, I would have done n minus 7.39 and then divided by negative 2. So going backwards, I'm going to multiply both sides by negative 2 first. So that's going to give me n minus 7.39 is equal to, okay, I think I could do this without a calculator. Negative times a negative is a positive, and 2 times 1.09 should be 2.18. All right, then I'm going to add 7.39 to both sides. All right, I could do this without a calculator too. 8 plus 9 is 17, carry the 1, 5, and 2. So I'm getting 9.57. All right, I am not super confident, but we'll see here. Maybe I should have used a calculator. No way! Oh, no doubt. I never doubted myself, not for 1 second, boys and girls. Okay, now we've got an equation with variables on both sides, right? So let me rewrite it here. Negative 6 minus 9m equals negative 10m. All right, so when you have variables on both sides, what did Mr. Reeves say? Find the smaller one and get rid of it. Now, in this case, I'm going to make an exception. Here's why. Negative 10 is smaller than negative 9, right? Remember, this is actually subtracting a positive, but it's the same as adding a negative, right? But if I get rid of this one, I'm going to have 0 on this side, and then I'm going to have to move things around. So this is the exception. I don't like having this be a 0. All right, so this was minus. Again, if I write it how it was minus 9m. So I'm going to go ahead and add 9m to both sides because I don't want 0 over here. And I get negative 6 equals negative 1m. So if negative 6 equals negative 1m, well then positive 6 equals positive 1m. Anytime you have a negative in front of the variable equal to something, all right, make them both the opposite. The opposite of a negative is a positive, and the opposite of a positive is a negative. Is that a brilliant statement by me? Or is that brilliant? All right, what are we going to have to do on this one? Well, we're going to have to do combining like terms, aren't we? So I have negative 1 minus 4h is going to equal negative 8 what? That's going to give me minus 3h, all right? So now I have an equation with variables on both sides. Which one is smaller? Do you agree negative 4 is smaller than negative 3? So I'm going to add 4h to both sides. I get negative 1 is equal to negative 8 plus h, all right? Add 8 to both sides, and I get 7 is equal to h. That's right, 7 is equal to h. All right, can we skip? Oh, look at that. We have skipped directly to the challenge zone. All right, so what did Mr. Reeves say? Simplify before you solve. That's a good rule. I'm going to apply the distributive property here. I'm going to apply the distributive property here. So I'm going to distribute first on both sides. Let's see, that gives me negative 18b plus a 12 is equal to negative 6b minus 12. Okay. Now I've got an equation with variables on both sides. Which one is smaller? Negative 18 is smaller. I'm going to eliminate the smaller one, and since it's negative, I'm going to be adding positives to it. So I get 12 is equal to 18 minus 6, 12b minus 12. Looks like we got a bunch of 12s here. All right, then I'm going to add 12 to both sides, and I get 24 is equal to 12b. Dividing by 12, I get b is equal to 2. B is equal to 2. By the way, if you're going, could you have divided by 12, Mr. Reeves, and could you have made that equation 1 equals 1b minus 1? Well, let's see. If we did that and we added 1, what would we get? We would get b equals 2. Yes, you could have divided by 12 there. Again, there's all kinds of stuff that you can do. I like to emphasize what always works. All right, b is equal to 2. All right, and I think that's where I'm going to stop. I hope working through these 3 skills. Again, the order that I recommend, W10, followed by W13, followed by W9. Sometimes I don't quite understand why IXL puts them in the order that they do. All right, have a great day. Until next time. Bye.